about, well, 10 years ago, and a mutual friend called me up and said this guy needed a sound for his senior thesis over at USC. I just decided, okay, I'm not doing anything, and it was probably going to be like a 2-week shoot, which turned into like, what, 3 months or something like that?
Yeah. Run out of money. Run out of money. Finishing it, yeah. So, and we were doing this project where the tone was kind of melodramatic, and after a while, dealing with such melodramatic material, it's like we have the same sixth sense of humor. And we just realized maybe this is the wrong project to be working on, but we should be writing together and, you know, and collaborate.
Kaylee, I can't believe you came!
The Butterfly Effect is a supernatural movie with a twist in that it's really dark, edgy, and gritty. And it's very controversial, and it goes places that no other films go. And when we set about writing anything, the first litmus test we have we ever seen this in a movie before? And if we have, we back off and go in the completely different direction. And we try to come up with the most really cool, mind-blowing experience, roller coaster of a ride film we could come up with. And yet at the same time, since it's so grounded in horrible themes of reality on this planet, the things that human beings do to each other, it's interesting because a lot of it has a lot of reality. It's of our lives in there. I mean, because it's a supernatural movie, you'd think that we just created the whole thing, when every little character or nuance somehow comes from our hearts. And, you know, it's why it's our baby more than any other script we've written. You know, there's so much personal stuff that's sort of ingrained in the middle of this supernatural story that seems to have no basis in reality.
We looked at the project, it was like there's so much like really sort of taboo subject matter that we knew that in the hands of anybody else, if they weren't personally attached to it, when push came to shove, they'd probably back down on a bunch of things. And we just knew we wanted to keep the integrity of the script that we kept. And, you know, everybody hears about, oh, their project that they won't give up. But, you know, this was the one.
Eric and John came to JC and I. We managed them as writers, and they brought us this screenplay. Actually, I think JC read this first and was blown away by it. He gave it to me. I read it on a plane. I think I was flying to Colorado or something. By the time I got off the plane, I was like completely affected and like shaking, and I called JC and I was like, this script is crazy.
These guys are incredible writers, and the way that they put this story together, there's so much to keep track of when you get into something like this, and they really, it makes sense.
The original ending that I read intrigued me tremendously, because I really wondered if somebody had the power to put themselves away before they came into this world. And I thought it was a great concept. And it's not the theatrical ending as we all know it, but I don't know, that somehow grabbed me. And then after I met the two directors, we had lunch. I met them once in their office, and then we had lunch together. And I fell in love with them, and I fell in love with the story. And I think it's very powerful, and it's mind-boggling, and you got to pay attention when you watch the movie. But that's good. Makes you think a little bit.
This is, out of all the things that we ever wrote, this is the one that we were like, we won't sell. And when we wrote it, we needed the money more than anybody ever needed money. And it was like a constant battle between the both of us of like, all right, let's sell it, let's sell it. And it was like, no, no, no. But, you know, we held on to it and struggled, and we wrote other projects just for the hope that, you know, eventually we could do this project.
This script got them the Final Destination 2 writing assignment. Once New Line kind of had faith in them as writers, got to know them, you know, they figured they'd give them a shot at this. And it's an intense script.
It's been through every possible incantation. I mean, I think the first draft might have been 85 pages, and he was still having blackouts in the present, and it was a completely different thing. By the end of it, you know, it's completely different from where you started, but I mean, I couldn't be happier with the final product in this case.
The great thing about all the different layers of the script is that it's so complex and thick that you're never quite sure what's happening, and I love that.
Where am am I? Where do we all go?
Calm down, kid. Stand still.
I was just somewhere else. How did I get here?
Quit acting like some damn retard, or I'll call your mother and tell her what a naughty little shit you've been.
We deal a lot with the subject of incest and child molestation, which we've personally have lots of friends that their lives have been affected by it, and it's something that's a subject that really means a lot to us. And so somehow we were able to go take that idea, marry it with the supernatural element, and somehow it just, hopefully, it'll be a viewing experience that people can really take a lot from. It was really important for us that when people watch this film, despite how supernatural it is, they can relate to it on a personal level. And we think there are so many dark, gruesome elements that are covered in this film that are still instantly relatable, and everyone has either been through a horrible experience that will be featured in this film or knows someone very close to them, and it was really important for us. And I gotta say, New Line Cinema was the only studio out there with the guts to actually take this project under their wing.
You know, it's not something that's extremely pleasant, but you know what, reality isn't always extremely pleasant.
Pre-production, I thought, was going to be like real easy. Like, we're telling David Ellis, the Final Destination 2 director, yeah, we're going to be in pre-production till, I don't know, like 4 o'clock, and then we'll just come over to the set and have fun, right? And we had no idea that, I mean, it's just interview after interview and talking to your production designer down to like what shade of paint is going to be on that piece of furniture, down to the napkins on the tablecloths in the restaurant scene, and it's never ending. The problem is we have answers for all these questions. Because we had a small budget, we would have to storyboard many, many sequences. Sometimes kids are in dangerous situations and you have to storyboard everything out, or there's special effects, or Ashton's in a wheelchair and he's got no arms, and you really have to know exactly what angle you're shooting everything, because it's going to change how the prosthetics apply, the fake arms and all that stuff. So I think by the end of it, we had like 80% of the movie storyboarded. Yeah, just because we did have a lot of effects, especially all the transitions between realities and stuff. And so yeah, there was so much little detail in the movie, we had to give everybody the blueprint or everyone would get lost.
Originally we had a cast that we went to kind of go and finance the film with, and due to like all sorts of circumstances that didn't come about. And then Ashton got hold of the script, and after he read it, you know, he kind of felt like this was something he really wanted to do, and then we were able to get it to Amy, who became available, and they ended up being perfect for the movie, and they were exactly what we were looking for. And for Ashton, it's like a real turn for him to do something like this, going away from comedy, doing something a bit darker, a hell of a lot more dramatic and thriller like this. But that's kind of what makes it exciting for us, and he kind of stepped into this and he, you know, completely showed a completely different side of himself to us, which we're lucky to have.
I did a lot more research for this character than I've ever done before. I spent 2 months learning psychology, which was something I never studied, and studying these specific disorders and people that have them and their stories, and you know, and really trying to get inside this character's head to an extent.
That's the hardest thing with this project. It was not only just like, all right, let's go find kids that would be perfect for these roles. It's like we had to go and find lookalikes for our 4 main leads. And not only one set of lookalikes, but we had to get 2 sets of lookalikes. Definitely the odds are against you, but somehow the casting gods were smiling on us and we got them. When we were first doing this project, from you know, crew members to cast, we were like, all right, you know, 2 directors, and sometimes when people hear 2 directors, it seems kind of weird. You know, there's plenty of them out there, but you know, it's not common.
As directors, John controls the style of the film. He's more in charge of the look, the way it aesthetically looks, the way the camera is moving, what he wants as his background, the colors, you know, the film stock, these kind of things. And then Eric is more of your acting coach. He, you know, follows the emotional lines of the script and is, you know, kind of our liaison to what they want as a team. But, you know, that doesn't stop John from running in every once in a while either, or Eric from setting up a shot every once in a while. So it's, you know, it's an interesting dynamic.
They have a wonderfully economic way of dividing and conquering and handling problems that flare up. and keeping the ball rolling. I enjoy it.
They usually give each other ideas, and one of them comes to us and shares that idea, unless they're really passionate and they both come full charge. But I have to say, Eric and Jonathan are just really easy to work with, and they know the story, which is, you know, so helpful.
The reason it was great is because they were both on the same page. They both knew, they were both, maybe they're two heads, two ideas, but they always had the same answer. Two heads on the same body, I guess, is one way to say it.
You know, as a producer, it's incredible. You know, you have two guys to handle 400 problems versus one guy. And they really do, in a weird way, share a brain.
Well, they're very much in sync with each other.
These guys are maniacs. I love being around people who really care. It's refreshing.
And the great thing about having them around as directors is they can justify everything because they've thought about it. They've been in this script for 7 years. This has been in their minds for 7 years. So they can justify every line in the script. They can justify every motion, every movement in the script.
When we first showed up and when we shot the film in Vancouver, we wanted to shoot inside a prison. Eric and I were fans of the film Slam, and we liked how it was really raw when they shot inside a prison within Washington, D.C., and so we told the producers, well, we want to shoot in a prison. The problem in Canada is all of the big, especially Western Canada, all of the big sort of big house prisons had been knocked down. So we couldn't get that, and so I was trying to convince the production, well, we'll go back over to the border and we'll go into Washington State and we'll shoot it there. No, it's not going to happen. I'm like, seriously, we'll use the real prisoners. I'm like, you're crazy. It's not going to happen. Cut to, we're in Washington State. We had 125 actual prisoners as our extras, and it was super maximum security, and it was crazy, but I think it did add a level of realism that you're just like, this is real, this is scary. Our fight choreographer, James Bam Bam, he's awesome. He really did a great time. He was loving it because most directors tell him, like, hold back. You know, I know it's real, but, you know, I don't know, it looks a little violent. I'm like, come on, a little bit extra. So, and he did an excellent job.
All the fight scenes were really, really cool in that all of the actors didn't even want stuntmen there. I mean, everyone has a very physical or sports-oriented background. Ashton, Willie, Scott, like, they both fight, they both box, they can take care of themselves that way. So they didn't want any of the stunt people around. But more interestingly, I think to me, were the kids who, you know, all they do all day is, you know, skateboard and fall down and get right back up. And we're sitting there with JP, who plays the 13-year-old Evan, and we're sort of in this hotel room rehearsing. And we're like, yeah, well, when the stunt people come in, you're gonna probably like get hit by a 2x4 and fly backwards. And he's like this? And he just springs off and lands flat on his back and then like pops right back to his feet. And we're like, yeah, like that, kinda.
It was so great that everybody was so physical that there's no stuntmen really in the whole film. Maybe a couple of sequences. Just because we had them there and we felt bad we didn't use them, but like, yeah, the kids definitely had it all.
The junkyard scene was really fun to shoot because the kids are totally into it, and it's really violent. It's the kind of thing where maybe half of it made it into the movie because there were so many kicks to the ribs and punches and swinging people in the face with a 2x4. I think one of the biggest gasps we get in the movie is when 13-year-old Kaylee gets hit with a 2x4, and the whole audience, you can just count on this. It's just really violent and unexpected. But we have them working with, like, I mean, it's a rubber piece of 2x4 and stuff like that with like a little rubber fake nail coming out. And it's really scary because you just watch these kids and their natural instincts are so perfect. The kids were just amazing.
Everybody in the movie that I've acted with and worked with, they've all impressed me. Like, everyone has done something that I went, wow, I had no idea that was coming, or you had no idea. And I hope in the same light that I'm doing that as well, and that people are gonna go, wow, I had no idea this kid could do this stuff, you know.
Ashton is an amazing, incredibly intelligent, incredibly insightful actor who delivers on every take. He delivers when he's off camera. He doesn't flub lines. He is there in the moment, as dependable as can be.
I've never really seen him do dramatic work. To see that he's such a professional actor where, you know, for his comedic stuff, he definitely knows how to do that. And then just to really see him studying hard and working hard on his character and his parts, and us working off each other and really trusting each other to go to whatever extreme levels we want to and feeling open about it. And it's fun with Ashton and I because we'll go from this dramatic moment to like the sorority fraternity house, you know, to this another dramatic moment at the seedy diner. It's been a great journey because we're just constantly on this roller coaster of different emotions and different places and trying to keep up with like, where's my character at, what's happened, you know, because it's so detailed, this script, and so intricate the way the past and present keeps merging.
Amy's gonna surprise people, and people are gonna stand up and go, who's Amy Smart? Wow.
As an actor, this is like a dream role to play 4 different characters. She's really had a hard childhood and been sexually abused by her father and just her mom not being there. Kaylee, as naturally, she turns out to be a pretty depressed, lonely girl working in a diner. And then through all the incarnations when he goes back and changes each bit of time, and circumstances, I come back as a sorority girl, as just a heroin junkie prostitute, and then the natural sort of hippie girl. And it's great. It's been so much fun.
The one thing that I do that I'm proud of the project is that it's really unpredictable, and especially, you know, we become cynical as writers where we can see, you know, in the craft of every setup payoff and seeing things telegraphed miles away, but, you know, there's no way with this film, and I kind of like that because those are the movies I enjoy. I want to go on that roller coaster ride.